Merci. Bonjour à tous. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being at McMaster, and thank you to McMaster for hosting us. Over the last 2 days, Cabinet has had a very good discussions about a range of issues facing Canadians. One of the top issues was the struggles families continue to face with global inflation, which is raising the costs of basic things like groceries. On sait que l'inflation cause beaucoup de stress pour les Canadiens, surtout après plusieurs années d'incertitude. C'est pourquoi, l'automne dernier, on a aidé la classe moyenne et les personnes qui travaillent fort pour en faire partie. En novembre, on a doublé le crédit d'impôt pour la TPS pendant 6 mois pour 11 millions de Canadiens. On a créé la prestation dentaire canadienne pour permettre aux familles qui en ont besoin d'amener leurs enfants de moins de 12 ans chez le dentiste. On offre aussi un supplément de 500 $ à l'allocation canadienne pour le logement. Environ 1,8 million de locataires à faible revenu sont admissibles. And we continue to deliver support through the Canada Child Benefit, which goes up with the cost of inflation, as do Canada Pension Plan benefits and the Guaranteed Income Supplement for seniors. A 10% top-up for OAS to seniors 75 and older, and support for low-income workers through the Canada Workers Benefit. But we know that the very best way to ensure Canadians have a good quality of life is to make sure they have good jobs. The most recent report shows that our jobs recovery from the pandemic demonstrates sustained strength. Unemployment is at historic lows, and we have record high labour force participation, including record high participation of women in the economy. This is keeping our economy All of this is keeping our economy and the middle class strong and empowering more people than ever. But we know there's still more work to do to ensure that everyone is benefiting. Our government is committed to building an economy that works for all Canadians, and we've made a lot of progress in the last year. We've helped secure jobs for the next generations of steelworkers by investing in projects like Dofasco's decarbonization facility right here in Hamilton that'll see Canada manufacture some of the cleanest steel in the world. Quite frankly, that's good for the environment, it's good for the quality of air people breathe here in Hamilton and across the GTA. It's good for our bottom line as we grow the economy and continue to compete with the world. But it's the best news of all for generations of Hamiltonian steelworkers who've been proudly making steel here for a long time, who will now see more and more generations continuing to have good jobs in steel manufacturing right here in Hamilton as we compete successfully with the world. We're also investing to create new opportunities for resource workers across the country, like the workers I met in Saskatoon last week who are mining the critical minerals and rare earth elements used to make the batteries our computers and smartphones and electric vehicles rely on. On soutient nos entrepreneurs et chercheurs dans le domaine des technologies, comme les experts en information quantique que j'ai rencontrés lundi dernier. On garantit de bons emplois aux personnes pour qui c'est important que notre industrie automobile soit forte, que ce soit les travailleurs des chaînes de montage ou les innovateurs ici au McMaster Automotive Resource Centre. And we're delivering affordable childcare everywhere in Canada so that all moms and dads can fully participate in the economy and build the careers they want. Last year, we worked with provinces and territories to reduce fees by 50% for families with children in licensed daycares. This is saving families thousands of dollars every year. And I've been hearing it from families, from parents right across the country who've talked about how the fact that we've dropped childcare fees has made a huge difference at a time where the price of so many other things are going up. Gives them the breathing room they need to be able to support their family and continue to be incredibly optimistic about our future. Now, we've done a lot to deliver for Canadians over the past few months, and we're not going to slow down because we know there are still a lot of big issues to tackle. Top of mind for a whole bunch of people is the state of healthcare in Canada. Our universal system has long been a model to the world, and Canadians are rightly taking enormous pride in it. But what Canadians are experiencing right now is simply not living up to that promise or pride. Too many people don't have access to a family doctor or a nurse practitioner. Wait times in emergency rooms across the country, particularly in rural areas, have become dangerously long. Healthcare workers themselves are under incredible strain as they've stepped up over these past 2 years. So many of them are on the verge of burnout. So many of them continue to work incredibly long hours to keep everyone safe, but need extra support. Got an email a few weeks ago from Trish in Lanark, Ontario, saying that universal healthcare in Canada is something that makes her proud. But she wants her leaders, political, at municipal, provincial and federal levels, to be working together to make sure it's sustainable. And of course, that's something that we want too. Pendant la pandémie, on a apporté un soutien supplémentaire de 72 milliards de dollars à nos systèmes de soins de santé. On l'a fait pour que les provinces et territoires puissent continuer de fournir des soins et des services pour les Canadiens pendant ces moments difficiles. Mais on sait tous que la pandémie a été difficile pour nos systèmes de soins de santé. Et on sait qu'il faut l'améliorer, apprendre des faiblesses et des défis qu'on a vécus au cours des dernières années pour assurer qu'on est là pour soutenir les Canadiens dans les années et les décennies à venir. Alors, au cours des derniers mois, notre gouvernement a travaillé intensément avec les provinces et territoires sur la meilleure façon de relever ces défis. Now, let's be clear. Providing money is certainly part of the solution, and we will do that. But funding alone won't solve the issues that we're seeing. Canadians need to see improvements, better results and outcomes, including timely access to family doctors no matter where you live, a strong and sustainable health workforce, access in a timely fashion to better mental health care, and access to digital health information that follows them to any health professional they see. This morning, I invited the premiers to join me in Ottawa on February 7th for a working meeting on healthcare. It'll be an opportunity to share with them our plans to support the healthcare systems across the country, hear their priorities for investment, and start working together concretely to ensure that we're transparent about how this money is being invested so Canadians can have the confidence that they'll get the high-quality healthcare they deserve for years to come. On va avoir besoin d'informations fiables pour pouvoir répondre aux besoins des Canadiens. Les provinces, les territoires ne sont pas tous pareils. Comme tout médecin peut vous le dire, pour traiter un problème, il faut d'abord avoir le bon diagnostic. Reliable, universal public health care is fundamental to Canadians, and we need to keep it that way. Canadians work hard, pay their fair share, and make sure that no matter who you are or where you live, you can always access health services based on needs, not on your ability to pay. We've got a big, amazing country built on strong, progressive institutions like public health care that Canadians care deeply about. And we're doing the hard work of strengthening health care and making sure that we all live up to the promise of this country. Les Canadiens veulent des dirigeants qui agissent. Notre Conseil des ministres va continuer de faire avancer les choses. We'll continue to work with leaders of any jurisdiction and any stripe to make sure that we're delivering for Canadians, because we know that now is not the time for divisive or obstructionist politics. We'll keep tackling climate change. We'll keep addressing income inequality. We'll keep growing the middle class. We'll keep fighting for you. And we'll keep building an economy that works for all Canadians. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, le Premier ministre. We have 20 minutes for questions from media. Nous avons 20 minutes pour les questions des médias. Et on va commencer avec Madeleine Blain-Morin de Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire quel montant vous êtes prêt à mettre sur la table pour les transferts en santé? Est-ce que les provinces sont au courant? Et si elles ne connaissent pas le chiffre, qu'est-ce qui vous donne l'espoir d'arriver à une entente d'ici le budget?
Au cours des dernières semaines, derniers mois, j'ai eu et notre ministre, nos ministres ont eu des conversations avec leurs homologues. On sait qu'on a un montant approprié à proposer aux provinces. On est sûr qu'on va avoir des discussions là-dessus, c'est sûr. Mais pour nous, la grande préoccupation, ça n'a jamais été juste le montant d'argent. Je pense que les Canadiens savent très bien qu'au cours des années, il y a eu énormément d'investissements dans nos systèmes de santé qui n'ont pas toujours été traduits dans de meilleurs résultats dans les systèmes pour les Canadiens. Et ce sur quoi on est en train de travailler maintenant, c'est de s'assurer qu'on met l'emphase sur les résultats. Et c'est exactement ce que les provinces eux-mêmes veulent. On respecte et on sait très bien que c'est aux provinces de livrer les systèmes de santé. Mais nous pouvons nous assurer qu'il y a une meilleure coordination entre les différentes juridictions, que les résultats soient clairs pour les Canadiens, qu'on ait des dossiers médicaux informatisés qui puissent mieux assurer des résultats pour les Canadiens pour que d'un médecin à un autre, ils aient les bonnes informations. Il y a des travaux qu'on peut faire, que tout le monde veut faire, mais qui seraient logiques à faire ensemble, et c'est exactement les conversations qu'on va continuer d'avoir, mais sur lesquelles on va se concentrer dans 2 semaines quand on se rassemblera à Ottawa.
Thank you. Prochaine question.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Michel Sabat de la presse canadienne. Et je vous prie de répondre en français et en anglais. Donc, toujours sur les transferts en santé, vous attendez-vous à ce que ce soit une entente collective avec les provinces ou des ententes distinctes à la pièce avec chacune d'elles? Et d'autre part, les provinces peuvent-elles s'attendre à obtenir 35 % de leurs dépenses en santé?
Tout d'abord, une des forces du système de santé au Canada, c'est qu'on n'a pas un système de santé, on en a 13. Et donc, ça permet pas seulement des innovations, mais ça permet aussi de répondre aux besoins particuliers des communautés et des différentes régions de notre pays. Alors, oui, il va y avoir des éléments de notre entente qui vont être un accord pour tous, mais aussi des éléments qui vont être vraiment, qui vont répondre directement aux besoins particuliers, aux priorités particulières des provinces. Alors, c'est une combinaison sur laquelle on va travailler ensemble dans les semaines à venir. I think one of the strengths of our approach to healthcare in this country is that different provinces and different regions get to respond to their needs in different ways, and they get to respond in ways that are better suited to their particular situations. That's certainly something that we don't think applying a one-size-fits-all across the country is the best way to do it. But there will be elements of what we're working on that will be an agreement with the entire country. One thinks of how data is collected, how data is shared, as being something that there needs to be harmonization on. But there are also lots of elements that are different from one province to the next. When you have a province that needs more in terms of support for family doctors, or a different province that needs more in terms of mental health supports, we need to be able to respond that way, and those are the conversations we're going to have. So it's going to be a little bit of bilateral conversations and a lot of overall conversations as well for the whole system.
Next question. Sorry.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Raymond Filion de TVA. J'aimerais vous amener sur le terrain des chars d'assaut que réclame l'Ukraine. Au cours des dernières heures, l'Allemagne a levé son interdiction. Elle donne le feu vert. Alors, est-ce que le Canada va également envoyer des chars d'assaut en Ukraine? Sinon, pourquoi pas? Qu'est-ce qui bloque?
Tout d'abord, comme tu sais très bien, Ray, comme tout le monde le sait, le Canada a toujours été là pour appuyer l'Ukraine avec de l'aide humanitaire, avec de l'aide financière, mais aussi avec des armements de façon significative. On est là pour continuer à fournir de l'aide militaire à l'Ukraine, aux Ukrainiens, parce qu'on doit voir l'Ukraine gagner dans ce conflit que la Russie a instigé chez eux de façon illégale. Je n'ai pas d'annonce à faire aujourd'hui, mais comme vous savez très bien, le Canada cherche toujours à faire tout ce qu'on peut pour aider l'Ukraine et on espère en avoir plus à partager dans les prochains jours. As you all know, Canada has stepped up significantly and without hesitation to support the Ukrainian people and Ukraine itself in its defense of its sovereignty, of its territorial integrity, of the principles and values that underpin all of our democracies against Russia's illegal and horrific invasion. We will continue to be there to give whatever support we can to Ukraine. I won't be making an announcement today, but I can tell you we are looking very, very closely at what more we can do to support Ukraine.
Thank you. Next question.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Taria Isri with Global News. Last night, Housing Minister Hussein defended his hiring of a food-oriented PR firm that is owned by a senior staffer sister. He didn't rule out hiring them again, and they've already received $93,000 in contracts. Are you happy with how the minister is handling concerns raised over this contract, and would you approve of him hiring them again?
I think it's extremely important that all politicians and all members of Parliament and all ministers continue to look for whatever ways they can to connect with constituents, to share in our priorities and to make sure we're listening and learning from constituents and serving them well. It's important, of course, that people follow all the rules, and that's what we'll continue to ensure.
Next question.
You guys need a minute, or?
The transit union in Toronto is very concerned about the level of violence that is happening on transit. They're asking for a federal task force or some federal help to sort this out. What do you say to them?
Keeping Canadians safe remains one of the top jobs that all orders of government need to put at the forefront of everything they do. We will, of course, continue to work with the province and with the city on making sure that Canadians are safe. If there's a role for the federal government to step up, we will no doubt step up. It's something that we're happy to partner with provinces and municipalities on.
Thank you. Next question, CHCH.
Hi there, Prime Minister. I'm Matt Ingram from CHCH News. You're here to talk about a struggling economy. Well, people in Hamilton are struggling significantly. Rents have skyrocketed. The cost of food has increased. You went to Locke Street, which is a very affluent area. You're now here at McMaster University. I'm wondering, when are you going to meet with the people who are struggling here in Hamilton and hear what they need from them directly?
I can tell you that over the past years, I've spent a lot of time here in Hamilton meeting with a range of folks who, indeed, like Canadians across the country, are facing really tough times. On top of a pandemic that stressed every family in new and quite innovative ways, unfortunately. We've now seen the twin challenges of significant global inflation on top of rising interest rates put more pinches on families. And that's why, as a government, we have been unequivocal in stepping forward to support people. We doubled the GST benefit for 6 months just last fall, putting hundreds of dollars more in the bank accounts of 11 million families. We also chose to ignore the objections of conservative politicians like Pierre Poilievre, who didn't want us to deliver on dental supports for families who couldn't send their kids to the dentist, who objected to us increasing supports for the lowest income renters, and we delivered those dental and rental supports to Canadians. And we're going to continue to be there to support people in very, very concrete ways, as we know the global economy is facing rough waters. But even as we do that, even as we are there in this difficult moment to support Canadians who need it, as this government always will, We need to make sure that people can see to the other side of this and have confidence in their jobs, in their communities, in their country's future. And that's where our investments in mining, our investments in green steel here at Dofasco, our investments in electric car manufacturing and world-leading battery supply chains, our investments in hydrogen opportunities with Germany, our investments in and our partnerships with growing economies of Asia like Japan, South Korea, and others, in creating good jobs in Canada that, like I did on Monday, some of them will be in the most advanced quantum computing that anyone's ever seen, but a lot of them will be the good middle-class jobs that we see so many of right here in Hamilton, where people are aware that they have jobs now, as we have extremely high employment across the country, but worried about, well, what are all the changes in the global economy going to mean for my job, for my community, for my kids' jobs? And even as we pull together during these difficult times, which we will all do, we can be incredibly optimistic about how Canada is positioning itself for the coming years. And as a team, that's our dual focus. Making sure we're there to support Canadians right now while we need it, as we always have, as we did during the pandemic, as we did last fall, and making sure we're building that strong, innovative economy filled with good middle-class jobs for the coming years.
Next question.
Ian Wood, CTV News. Prime Minister, the Finance Minister said yesterday that another rate hike would mean tough choices. The interest rate has gone up again just now. What tough choices are you going to make on these promises to Canadians and on your policy agenda with these rates going up once again?
We, as a government, we have multiple priorities in being there for Canadians. One of them is to make sure that we are there to support people who need it, as we did during the fall. As we were there with targeted support that helped 11 million people with the doubling of the GST credit, as we did with dental supports so families can send their kids to the dentist, as we did for rental supports, as we do with the Canada Child Benefit, as we do with the Canada Workers Benefit, as we do with so many targeted supports for the families that most need it. At the same time, Canada has the best fiscal position of any of the G7 countries, the lowest deficit in the G7, and is one of the only 3 largest economies in the world that has a AAA international credit rating. And we are going to keep that. And we're not going to do things that will further contribute to the Bank of Canada's need to fight inflation. So by being targeted in our supports and by making the kinds of investments that are going to create sustainable economic growth for years to come, we can support Canadians without endangering the track that the Bank of Canada has put us on to reduce inflation. En tant que gouvernement, on a plusieurs priorités en même temps. Une, bien sûr, c'est d'être là pour appuyer les Canadiens qui en ont besoin. Mais la deuxième qu'on doit faire en même temps, c'est de s'assurer qu'on garde une responsabilité fiscale qui va permettre de voir encore décroître l'inflation et nous permettre de revenir au meilleur moment dans les mois à venir. Et donc, notre aide aux Canadiens est responsable, mais ciblée. Donc, que ce soit les 11 millions de Canadiens qui ont reçu le doublage du retour de la TPS, ou que ce soit l'aide aux soins dentaires pour les enfants qui n'ont pas accès aux soins dentaires, ou que ce soit de l'aide aux locataires aux plus faibles revenus, on a démontré notre capacité de continuer d'être là pour les Canadiens. en plus de l'allocation canadienne pour enfants, en plus de l'allocation canadienne aux travailleurs, en plus du retour avec l'initiative pour le climat, en plus des autres mesures pour les aînés, pour les étudiants. On a éliminé les intérêts sur les prêts et bourses étudiantes. On est là pour aider les gens de façon ciblée, sans mettre en danger notre position fiscale, qui est la plus forte au G7. On est le 3e plus grande économie du monde à avoir une cote AAA par les agences d'évaluation. On a une situation fiscale forte, on doit l'utiliser et pour aider les gens et pour s'assurer que l'inflation continue à diminuer sans avoir à pousser la Banque du Canada à en faire plus que nécessaire. C'est cet équilibre qui va nous permettre, non pour les Canadiens qui en ont besoin, mais de passer à travers ces moments difficiles pour aboutir à une meilleure croissance et de meilleures opportunités pour tous le plus rapidement possible.
Next question.
Hello, Prime Minister. Matthew Van Dongen, Hamilton Spectator. You spoke with Hamilton Mayor Andrea Horwath yesterday about Hamilton's planned LRT line. What can the federal government do to help Hamilton build affordable housing along that line?
First of all, we know that the historic investments this government has made in public transit across the country has been good for the environment, but it has also been really good for people to be able to get from home to work quicker and more reliably in ways that is actually contributing to growth of our communities. Making sure that the growth that happens around these new transit lines includes affordable housing, includes a plan that is there for everyone, is really important to us. When we first made agreements with the provinces, it was with the province of Ontario in this case, it was clear that there needed to be a role for affordable housing in there. And as we move forward, once we receive an actual business plan and project plan from the province on the LRT, we will ensure that there is an appropriate proportion of affordable housing built into those plans. But it's something that Mayor Horwath has been very, very strong on, that we absolutely agree with her on, and it's something even that I know Premier Ford is very alert to, the need to build more affordable housing for people. So we're very much looking forward to seeing that happen.
Prochaine question.
Hi, Anita Balakrishnan from The Logic. Thanks for taking my question. The Federal Court of Appeal has rejected the Competition Bureau's request to block the Rogers-Shaw deal. Now the fate of the merger is in your government. Is your government prepared to approve this deal despite the concerns that were previously raised by the Competition Commissioner?
As you know, we're not going to be making an announcement today. As we continue the work that we've been doing on this, I can assure you that ensuring proper competition in the telecommunications industry to keep prices down and keep quality high for citizens has always been our top preoccupation. That's why we expressed concerns from the outset around the original proposal for Rogers-Shaw, and why we've been working very hard to see if there are ways to ensure continued competition in the industry while creating opportunities for better services for Canadians. I know Minister Champagne continues to look very closely at the file, and we will make appropriate decisions in the best interests of Canadians at the right time.
Next.
Okay. Notre préoccupation, c'est toujours d'avoir plus de compétition dans le secteur des télécommunications pour assurer et la qualité et la compétitivité et des bons prix pour les consommateurs. Nous avions exprimé des préoccupations dès le début de ce qui avait été proposé au début. Nous sommes en train maintenant de travailler avec les différents partenaires et je peux vous assurer que le ministre Champagne continue de regarder très attentivement pour s'assurer que ce qui se passera dans cette industrie-là sera toujours dans l'intérêt des Canadiens.
Next question.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail. Just going back to the health care decision to meet with premiers. Can you give us any clarity on what ballpark you're looking at? They've asked for a 35% increase. That's $28 billion a year. Is that realistically on the table?
We have been working closely with many, if not all of the premiers over the past weeks and months to ensure that we're able to respond to the pressing needs Canadians are facing in healthcare right now, but also building a system that has learned from the real challenges we've gone through since the pandemic. And people are needing better access to family doctors. People are needing more reliable emergency room service. People are needing better access and quicker to mental health support. So many people are struggling, particularly since the pandemic. We need to get rid of the backlogs. There's so many things we need to do, and we will be doing them together. It's not just about money, although of course money is part of it, but as I can remind you, the federal government stepped up with $72 billion more during the pandemic. And that's dollars more on top of the tens of billions of dollars we send every year in health transfers to the provinces. We have stepped up and we will continue to step up. But the most important thing for Canadians is that we build a system that improves right now, but that can hold and continue to serve Canadians in this public, universal model for decades to come, even as the world is changing. That's what we've been working with the premiers on, and that's what we're going to sit down to really accelerate together in 2 weeks.
Next question.
Prime Minister, there's video that has emerged of you last night leaving a restaurant here in Hamilton, a crowd of protesters surrounding you, obviously very angry at you and your government. I wonder whether you felt that was a secure situation for you and why.
First of all, let me say that the welcome that I've gotten here in Hamilton has been extraordinary. The people I've met, the students here, the folks and teams that I met in various places during our couple of days here have been thoughtful and open and warm. And a handful of angry people do not define what Hamilton is or what democracy in this country is. It's really, really important in our democracy that people can express their disagreement or displeasure or even anger with various governments. That's really important. And at the same time, our police services and institutions will ensure that those protests remain peaceful and law-abiding. That's something that really matters, and we'll always ensure that people are free to express their perspective, but make sure that everyone understands that a handful of people don't represent Hamilton.
Next question, Tonda McCharles.
Je pense que c'est important de souligner à quel point l'accueil ici à Hamilton, comme l'accueil que je reçois à travers le pays, est extrêmement chaleureux. Les Canadiens, oui, font face à des moments difficiles, mais la grande majorité sont optimistes et veulent être collaboratifs et veulent qu'on travaille ensemble pour bâtir un avenir meilleur et qu'on continue le bon travail qu'on est en train de faire. Une poignée de manifestants en colère ne représente pas cette communauté, ne représente pas les Canadiens. Nous allons toujours nous assurer que les gens aient le droit de manifester, mais on a des services de protection et une police locale, que je veux remercier d'ailleurs, la police de Hamilton et la GRC, qui sont là pour assurer que les lois sont suivies.
Next question, Tonda McCharles.
Morning, Tonda McCharles, Toronto Star. You talk about most people being optimistic, but there do seem in the polls and whatnot a shift in the mood of the country, especially towards you. And I'm wondering if you feel there's been a shift such that you no longer do those big, large, open public events like town halls, which were free-for-alls and you addressed people's questions. You do these controlled events. So has there been a mood shift in that regard? And what's affecting your thinking, not exposing yourself to the public more broadly?
On the contrary, I'm continuing to be out there to meet with Canadians, to talk with them about their concerns, and I will continue to do that, staying connected, particularly after the tough years of the pandemic where we all had to change the way we were doing things, remains really important. So we're going to continue to be out there, and we're not going to let a handful of angry people interfere with the democratic processes that Canadians have always taken pride in being able to come up and meet members of Parliament, ministers, or even the Prime Minister and share their preoccupations. That's one of the strengths of this country, and we're going to ensure that that always continues to be, even as, yes, Canadians are facing tough times right now, but the vast majority of Canadians aren't the types to throw up their hands and say, oh, it's all broken. Most Canadians roll up their sleeves and say, you know what, this is tough, but we're going to be there for each other. We're going to see each other through this, and we're going to build a better future for ourselves, for our family, and for our communities.
Dernière question, la presse.
Oui, bonjour, M. Trudeau, Joël Denis Bellavance de la presse. Vous convoquez vos homologues provinciaux pour le 7 février. Je présume qu'il y a eu suffisamment de travail en amont fait par vos ministres respectifs pour conclure un deal. C'est pas pour vous chicaner le 7 février, c'est pour conclure un deal, c'est pour signer, je présume?
Non, c'est pas pour signer, c'est une rencontre de travail, mais c'est une rencontre où nous allons présenter notre vision pour comment on peut avancer ensemble. Effectivement, le travail a été fait en amont avec assez de premiers ministres que je sais que, oui, on est aligné dans la bonne direction. On devrait pouvoir conclure dans les semaines qui viennent des bons accords, mais c'est une rencontre de travail. Ce ne sera pas le moment de célébrer. Mais je pense que c'est un moment que les Canadiens vont pouvoir voir avec beaucoup de positivité, de voir tous les différents paliers de gouvernement se rassembler pour régler les problèmes, oui, de maintenant, mais aussi pour les années à venir.
In English, sir, no deal?
I think what's important to understand is there's been a lot of work done over the past weeks and months with the provinces, with partners across the country, to ensure that we're putting forward a solution that can really work for Canadians. What we'll be doing in 2 weeks when we sit down is rolling up our sleeves and talking about what we're proposing as the shape of the path forward for healthcare in this country that will respond to some of the immediate pressures around health, human resources, and others. But also build a system that Canadians are going to be able to rely on to deliver outcomes and results for them for years to come. So it'll be a good moment for us to gather, but we're not going to be signing deals on that particular moment. It'll be about starting the very direct hard work of the bilateral arrangements that will happen with every province, while at the same time we move forward with a frame around data and health information and results that I think every Canadian wants to see.
Thank you. That will conclude today's press conference. Merci. Ça va mettre fin aux conférences presse.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you.